the main purpose of this discussion, obviously, is to encourage some sort of debate on the quality of our EIA reporting. And another is to obviously identify the problem areas in EIA report quality. Another is to stimulate, like what we're attempting to do now, is to stimulate some sort of collaboration and networking amongst environmental and allied professionals. And also to look at ways in which we can develop or even share ways and means of improving the quality of EIA reporting. Now, what's going wrong? Is it a case of a bad costume for Halloween? So when I sent out that request for a discussion, immediately got a response from one of my colleagues down in the Western Cape. And so this is what he had to say. Regrettably, questionable EIA reporting in this country has been the norm now for a very long time. And I agree with him. Fueled in part by having departments where environmental assessment and development planning reside under the same literal or political roof. There is no sign of this abating to any measurable degree. So he's obviously touched on the whole setup of our competent authorities. And well, look, it's a valid issue. But I narrowed it down to, and by no means, I do not by any means want to restrict our discussion to these problems. I mean, that's why we're having the discussion. There may be other problems, but I've just narrowed it down to these: substandard reporting, and what I've seen as generally very poor attention is given to the basics in report writing. Not even, for EIAs, but general report writing skills are lacking. And then if we focus on the EIA itself, I've seen numerous reports where there's been very little attention given to a proper description of a project. And the other being, I've written that article on listed activities and the triggers. What's the purpose of applying for a listed activity when you are not going to even describe it or even assess it in an EIA report? So I've seen in a number of reports virtually no assessment or description of the specific listed activities. And then we have, it's good enough you have drafted a report and told us what the potential impacts are going to be. But that's not where you're supposed to leave it. And the other problem I've seen is that poor attention being given to mitigation measures and effective and practically implementable mitigation measures, not theoretical and pie in the sky sort of mitigation measures. And then the other is the putrid quality of maps and spatial information. I mean, this has been going on for decades now, and I haven't seen a drastic change for the better when it comes to this maps and spatial information. And then providing misleading information or downplaying of crucial issues or findings of specialist reports. I mean, the other day I read a report. The specialist report concludes one thing, and the EAP makes another conclusion. Obviously, that's a dissenting opinion, but there's no justification given by the EAP as to why he or she is not in agreement with the findings of the specialist report. So these are some of the serious sort of problems I've seen in reports. So again, I don't want to restrict the discussion to what I have put here, but these are what sort of the suggestions I've come up with. Hopefully, we can lead the discussion in a particular way. So the obvious solution is training and capacity building. But what type of training and capacity building? And the other, well, tied to the training and capacity building is especially the EAPs having access to resources for continuous skills development. And then what is the role of our environmental authorities? And it's a very important role, because if they keep accepting poor quality reports or granting environmental authorizations for poor quality reports, then it's not going to help. It hasn't helped thus far. Ongoing mentoring of EAPs. I know this, there's a structure in place, but what goes on in these mentoring relationships? And then again, networking among industry professionals. There's lots of networking. I mean, there's these conferences either hosted by PASA or IISA or even III International. But are we doing it in the right way? Are we networking for the right reasons insofar as training and capacity building is concerned? And then the last one, obviously, is bad decisions need to be challenged. And if they're not going to be challenged, then it's the same as authorities basing environmental or granting environmental authorizations on poor quality reports. So if these bad decisions based on bad reports are challenged, that would hopefully initiate some sort of turnaround and here I indicate the role of NGOs and the public and and other stakeholders.